No, I'm not awake. I'm not very awake yet.
I'm
good. I'm glad to be under. This is my phone is is Nicholas Ray.
okay.
So
It's
he's my big my main hero
Nicolas Ray.
of American cinema. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very vulnerable.
Yeah.
I say a lot of crazy things, but I try to keep it to movies.
Okay. Yes, that's important.
Yeah. I mean, that character is very relatable for me. I mean, I relate to her in the sense of when I was that age and not fitting in with, or not being interested in following the path that seemed predetermined. I would be an auto mechanic if I did that, or something like that. Or maybe I would have gone into military service, or so, and she's wearing my t-shirt, the Led Zeppelin shirt she's wearing. That was my shirt when I was a teenager, and we went to Washington, D.C., and my girlfriend got very mad at me. We had a fight, and she separated, and we had to look all over Washington, D.C. to find her, because we didn't have cell phones then. So there's like some autobiography in that. And even still, I think, I mean, you have to resist. That's my favorite movie is If, by Lindsay Anderson, and to me, it's been my favorite movie since I was a little boy. And resistance.
Okay.
Yeah, resist the path. Well, I'll just speak to cinema. It's very rare independent films right now, and I understand why, because it's a lot of work and not much reward.
Yeah.
Financially, no, but even just, it's just so hard to get a movie seen if you're really independent. And there used to just be blockbusters, and then a middle range, kind of commercial cinema, and then independence. And now there's just the big blockbusters, and then this kind of fake personal cinema, or fake author cinema in America, because they're still, I mean, they're brands more than actual independence, and that's kind of catching on too much. It is important though that people still make movies, and I think in this series here that they're doing, this Americana Film Festival, there's actually independent films in there. So yeah, I have more sympathy for the director. And I understand how the director can be almost already exhausted before even the first day of production, because of all of the preparations, the communications, everyone having to get the director's approval for everything. And I was working mostly with my friends on my film, and so it wasn't even that intense for me, but I understand the loneliness of the director on set, I know often the director is the least respected person on set, or at least the one that seems the least experienced, so that the crews they think they know better than the director. This often happens. And that was not my experience, but I understand how it happens. And when you go onto a set and you have your bag or your jacket, as the director, you don't know where you put it. And then, but there's everyone else, they have their truck or their carts, but the director comes on and just is, where do I put my jacket? Things like that, even small things like that. Yeah, I think one of the main kind of hopes with the film is that it shows people to not take themselves so seriously all the time. I think in America we have a lot of experimental and foolish passion for things, and you get very serious about it, and you think that that's how you are taken seriously, and so people get very they just take themselves too seriously, and that's a dangerous thing sometimes. I mean, because and I think that's I wanted, every character in this movie, the men, if somebody in America sees the film and relates to these guys, and as somebody that would maybe think about going somewhere and shooting the place up, or maybe see themselves reflected a little bit and say, pretty stupid looking, or that's foolish. No, it's a hopeful film. It's optimistic. I think Talia, the lead actress, she really thought that it's a hopeful film. I know we just go I mean, in America we go this way and then we go all the way that way and all the way that, you know. So it keeps things interesting, you know. You can't be hopeless because you know it's going to go not back necessarily, but you know. I mean, Nick Pinkerton, the guy who wrote it, he's very intelligent and very funny, and he cares very much about America and the history. He speaks very well to this. I think perfect probably sounds like that's what they do in blockbusters, you know. I think Steven Spielberg has perfect photography, even though he also, I think, is. I love him. I'm not. But when you have the imagination, the kind of, and the budgets together to make something like that, I think it's amazing. And Kubrick probably has some perfect. I don't try for it, and in fact, I really try to incorporate as many imperfections for me. If I make a frame that seems too well lit or something, it doesn't feel very good. And I like to have a bad frame where there's, you know, like this coat rack would be there, and instead of moving it out of the frame or something, we just have just a piece of it and it looks like shit, and it kind of makes the whole thing seem maybe real. Not that I'm trying to make things so real, but it makes it somehow like you can feel like you're there more. I think imperfection is important to me, and I do my own focus usually, and that makes things very imperfect. When I make a movie, I don't want to make it like a movie that I've seen necessarily before, but something that could fit into. I mean, the movies that I love are mostly pretty old, very specific period. I guess I'm mostly excited by, and it's because of there's like atmosphere and things. I feel like when I watch old movies and time travel, and I want our movie to feel like that. Maybe when people watch it in 20 years or so, that they feel like they're time traveling. And I know that movies that are made today that are very glossy and perfect, and there's a formula. I know that there's going to be a nostalgia that'll feel nostalgic for sure at some point. Also, when everything is AI or whatever, I don't know what the future is. I don't really see that. But it's like. But I don't want it to feel like our movie's a 70s movie when we're making it today. But it does resemble maybe aesthetically that, because that's what I'm mostly familiar with. Also 16 millimeter is just nicer to people. People look nicer in 16 millimeter. When you shoot on these high definitions and you get into a close-up, you're seeing things that like I don't see. You know, if I filmed you on 8K, all of a sudden you have like hairs that are growing out of your nose that I can't see. You know,
it's I'm horrible.
No,
in
HD, in 4K.
I'm the worst person in the world.
But you'd be surprised. The most beautiful people all of a sudden look a little different. Well, maybe the most beautiful people. It's
Do you think it's
I think that
but you can
I think the next movie is it takes place 45 years ago. So we have to make it relevant. But I think I'm confused about today, so I'm gonna go back literally maybe and do that. The next film is probably something that's from the past, which is. I normally don't like that because I think that's escaping, but we'll make it relevant. And I don't know, because the next years are going to be exciting.
It's a good way to.
But we can't get carried away. We can't watch the news too much. We have to make things, and if you just watch the news, then that can really take up your whole life, and that makes you radical in a bad way. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm sorry for this too many time, but.
No, it's fine.
Hola, provant. 1, 2, 3. I'm a filmmaker.
Good to know.
Nice to meet you. Maureen.